Well, after a 2 year wait, Final Space has finally returned with its third season, or the first episode anyway. So this time around, I'm just going to be doing a thoughts on watching on each of the episodes, and just telling you what I think as it goes on. I might do a full proper review of them later, but here we go. So today I watched the first episode of season 3, and yeah, just to back up a bit, season 1 I thought was a really strong long season, and it was clear that Owen Rogers had really, had a lot of time to think and plan out exactly what he wanted to do with that first season. And that first season was one big long story, which is why each episode was given the name of chapters 1 through 10. Season 2 was clear that the initial plans and that had changed quite a bit, and things were very different as it became a lot more sort of episodic and very much more Rick and Morty styled, in that, hey, this is the thing that is happening of the week. We have to collect these keys, and this is what we've got to do of the week. Though towards the end of the season, it became more serialized again. And season 3 seems, at least on first impressions, to basically to be more going off season 1. Season 2 seemed to be more focused on doing just single sort of episodic stories with a sort of overarching plot in the background, whereas season 3, at least on first regards, it seems to be going for one big long sort of story again, like season 1. And this season, at least if episode 1 is anything to judge by, is going to be a lot darker. It's going to be, I mean, if you've seen the teaser trailers for it, it does look like it's going to be a lot more dark and a lot more serious season compared to season 2, and more in line with season 1. Season 2 kind of felt like half of the season was already there, but then it just kind of felt like it was pushing back into them actually getting into Final Space. So yeah, season 2 starts off exactly where season 2 left off. So some spoilers ahead. So at the end of season 2, Gary and Co enter Final Space along with Bolo, and this is where this season picks right up. And yeah, it's a bit of a brutal one. So they basically just get marooned on some sort of planet, and they're not sure what to do where they are, and the only thing they have to eat are these worm things. And that was one of the few jokes they have in this one. They don't have as many jokes in this one, because the majority of the episode is Gary and Co being chased by either a Titan or by these reanimated corpses of all the different versions of Gary who have died in Final Space. Yeah, which is obviously what you can see on screen now, which is, yeah, it is pretty creepy. It is nice and creepy, nice, bit of sort of horror sort of thing thrown in there, to have all these versions of Gary who are, in some cases, literally have rotted away, reanimated and coming after all of them. The group are later separated, and there is pretty good joke between Gary and Avocado, who again returned at the end of season 2. And the thing that makes it funny is that Gary talks about him and Avocado having, a powerful bond that no one else has between them, just which is the ultimate special thing. And Quinn says, "Aren't we supposed to have that special bond?" And Gary winks, "Not to my knowledge." Which again, I think the humor. I think when it's used correctly, I think that is done a lot better, because Owen Rogers, who voices Gary, in season 1, he sounded like an over-enthusiastic YouTuber who was really talking about this and hey, yo, and but towards the end of the season did calm down and get more serious. Season 2, continue that. Season 3 stills a little bit of that, but generally now, I was glad to see that actually there was a lot more serious conversations in this. Gary actually, tries to get Quinn to open up about how what was like to spend all this time in Final Space. And yeah, it's done really well in the fact that Quinn doesn't see anything, where Gary doesn't push too hard either. The only problem is that it is cut. They do just cut to a month later of them just living here, which, yeah, just like how? I mean, there's a scene which is just a joke of them eating these like worm things, but honestly, it's not really said what they've been doing or how else they've really been surviving. So I don't really know why it was necessary to cut to a month later. But all right. Also, there's a slight problem here in that a lot of the characters are kind of just ignored in this episode. For example, Ash and Fox and Little Cato don't really have anything to do in this episode at all. They get there and they occasionally say a line or two, but yeah, don't really have much to do at all. Same with Eva, who's destroyed in this episode. The ship destroyed, at least that we know of. She's not coming back. Yeah, and then we've got Hugh again, who's still kind of here now. But if this is the case of, hey, we're going to have episodes where, say, this episode, we're going to focus on Gary and Quinn, then by all means, so be it. I'd much rather have, a more character-focused thing, just shoving everyone together, including Gary's mum, who's in this, Gary's mum, she's went a bit odd, because the one thing I think was a bit weird at the end of season 2 is that she went from hating her son to, loving her son and regretting not spending, more time with him in literally one scene. And yeah, this is just continuing. I don't like the fact that like someone who is blames someone and hates someone for so long and then just switches over to it. It is a bit odd, and again, with the latter screen time, meh. But this one does seem a lot more, character focused and survivalist, so we'll see how that plans out. But anyway, about halfway through the episode, the characters get split in half. So we've got Gary, Quinn, Hugh, and Tribord. Now, Tribord does actually have some things to do in this episode. He lays an egg. Yeah. He lays an egg, and out comes a fully grown son who speaks Spanish for some reason. And also, when Tribord lays an egg, that when it hatches, it instantly grows into, an adult and is fully clothed, and also has weapons like energy blasters. Okay. I mean, it's a bit odd. A bit odd. I mean, it's not explained or even questioned. Yeah, it's not even questioned at all. Like, I could, I can perfectly accept, his species, just fully grown into adulthood as soon as they hatch. And the clothes thing, okay, maybe. But then the energy, she went, like the guns, it's like, how the fuck does that happen? I don't know, and we'll see how it goes, but in this episode it just seems to be more of a plot convenience for, them to have some guns to defend themselves with against the hordes of Garys that are coming after them. And then in the other group, we've got Avocado with Little Cato, Gary's mother, and Ash and Fox, who encounter this robot who, his existence in this episode, again, is kind of pointless, but this robot is piloted by this sort of oozy blob thing in its head, and it basically just begs them all to kill him because, final space is a horrible place where you just want to find somewhere to go and die. And so they oblige. So, yeah, that kind of happened. This whole episode kind of just is mostly just setting up on how bleak everything is and how basically there's no way of getting away from this, which, yeah, is interesting. The only problem with it is that the more you go down this path of everything seeming hopeless and the bleakness of it, there's only so far you can go to then satisfactorily pull yourself out of it. And the problem with Final Space is that in the previous season it introduced time travel. And this is always a big problem when it introduces things, because it's hard, unless it establishes more rules within it, then you can't just accept, this is the ultimate end and nothing can change it. Where it can be. Prime example, Avocado. He dies halfway through season 1. He comes back halfway through season 2. And probably comes back at the end of season 2. Yeah. So, as I said before, it's hard to take the threats as big as they can be when stuff like that can be sort of manipulated. I should also mention Mooncake. Mooncake gets separated from them trying to defend against this Titan. And, it appears at one point that Gary and Quinn and that may be dead, and Mooncake believes that they are dead. And Bolo convinces him to just go off, but it's revealed that, no, they're not dead. They're kind of stranded on a... Gary and Quinn and Hugh are kind of just stranded on a floating, rock in space, but above them they do see the Earth. Yeah, which is something I completely forgot about. The Earth being dragged into final space. So, yeah. There's also things that are clearly being set up in this episode to be later explored in an arc. For example, Quinn is glowing red and orange underneath her arms, which apparently is something to do with being in final space for so long, you change and stuff happens to you. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, the only problem with this is it's just like, how would you extend this to, a 13 episodes? This, we'll have to see how this actually does, kind of play out, because Final Space, apart from the Titans, is meant to be a mostly sort of empty kind of place. At least that's how it's being perceived to be, with the Titans just constantly trying to break out. But we'll see. We'll see. The problem is that season 2 was very Rick and Morty-esque. Let's go to this weird planet where all this strange stuff is. And season 3 just seems to be just like, let's make the stakes as high as they possibly can be. And I don't know. I have a feeling that season 3 may be the last. It may be the last season. So if that is the case, then maybe things will get a wrap up here. But overall, it was a really strong start. Overall, I much prefer this opening episode to the season 2 opener, as rather than sort of dicking about for an episode, this one actually, continues the plot and, does actually have a clear path. Evil Titans are trying to break out of final space. For Gary and Co, it seems completely hopeless. How the hell are they gonna fight against Titans? The goal of this season is just for them to get back home, it seems, but as ever, that seems it seems impossible, although they've entered final space before. At least Gary has, virtually. So, yeah, the fact that they got in there, they'll be able to get out. So that's kind of more of a given. It's just who will survive in this, who will not. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it still was entertaining. Even if most of the episode was just them just trying to survive and run away from the danger, which is basically that is the episode. They run away and try and survive from all the dangerous things that are happening in Final Space. Like they're not really proactive in this. Bolo is, but in terms of the rest of the characters, yeah, they're not really proactive in this. The only ones who are Mooncake and Bolo, because they're the only ones who can actually fight the other Titans. Gary and Go can't. They can't do anything but literally try and run, and it just seems like that at the end of their rope. The problem is, as the episodes go on, will that threat continue to be? Yeah. Anyway, that's it for this thoughts on watching. I know I've rambled on a bit and shit, but yeah. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.